everyone, and welcome to this space on Twitter. Big thanks to everyone joining us today. For those who don't know, this is basically an audio broadcast that we are going to be having a live Q&A with FCC speakers. For those who are not able to make it to FCC, so everyone can catch up on the most interesting highlights during these 3 days. Before, let's have a short intro on what FCC actually is. William, could you explain that a little bit?
Yeah, so EthCC is an event hosted by the French Ethereum people in Ethereum who are based in France, and they're holding a user conference in Paris right now for 3 days, and it's all about discussing the newest advancements in DeFi and Ethereum.
Great. So today is the long-awaited first day of FCC. So what happened on the first day? Many topics like the apps, UI, UX, Web3, DeFi, security, and many more were covered by professional speakers. We chose DeFi as today's first topic to discuss. And we have 4 amazing speakers here to tell us all about their talks and maybe share with us secrets from today's FCC. Please welcome Joseph DeLong, Chief Technology Officer at SushiSwap, formerly Senior Software Engineer at ConsenSys; Stani Kulechev, Founder and CEO at Aave, leading blockchain startup on decentralized lending, PwC Top 50 Blockchain Startups; David Bezo, a dev at StoicDAO; and Greg Vardy, Software Engineer in our Nethermind Nubia team. Hi guys, thank you for being here. We're super excited to have this opportunity to host this Q&A. So let's get started. As we mentioned before, today's spaces will be about DeFi, also called decentralized finance. For those who are not familiar with DeFi, Joseph, could you please give us a short intro on that?
Yeah, sure. So decentralized finance is a set of non-custodial protocols built on smart contracts that allow you to access financial infrastructure in a permissionless way.
All right, that's a really great explanation of such a sophisticated system. Could you tell to our newcomers what is the best way to get started with DeFi, in your opinion?
Well, I mean, obviously, over the past few months, the best way to get started in DeFi is to get into the APY yield farming projects. I think this DeFi yield farming thing brought a lot of people into DeFi, and it's really easy for people to understand because they can just stake some assets and then make some yield out of it. So I think they all understand the concept since they all into it to make money. I think that was probably the biggest way to get more people into DeFi, I guess.
Yeah, that's true, and it's really great to start. Thank you. Greg, can you think of some good use cases for DeFi and tell us how it actually works in real life?
Yeah, so I think one of the most interesting ones, well, a really great one is automated market makers and decentralized exchanges. And I'll sort of explain why I say that. And so traditionally, if you wanted to, buy an asset or hold an asset, you'd have to use a centralized exchange, or a broker that uses a centralized exchange. And there's a lot of sort of, sketchy things that go on with relation to like high frequency trading and dark pools, et cetera, et cetera. And it's a custodial service too. And so automated market makers, DEXs, essentially cut out that middleman. And an example of why that's a good thing is during the Black Monday crash, when a lot of the exchanges, the crypto exchanges, were essentially freezing users' funds and preventing them from withdrawing. All the DEXs and automated markets continued to operate exactly as you would expect.
Perfect. That I guess already gave us a really good background to begin with. What do you think are the biggest challenges for DeFi at the moment?
I think the usability sucks in DeFi right now. Like the user experience from beginning to end is terrible. From wallets that you need to install, fiat on ramps are like terrible and / non-existent. And then the need for like holding ETH to pay for gas is like this whole system is like a very bad user experience, and it kind of like while we say it's permissionless, it kind of like reserves itself for like a very narrow set of like nerds who know how to use it. And I think like going forward, the things that we need to build are the tools that make the platforms accessible for everybody.
Yeah, fair enough. Looks like there is still plenty of work to do. So, William, let's start with some FCC connected questions.
Yeah, so y'all presented today, and I think I saw some of your presentations, and they were all really fantastic. Why don't you give a quick intro to your speeches? Sort of like, what's the Eiffel Tower level view of the topic?
Oh, what I talked today at the on the main stage?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I gave presentation about auto market maker, how auto market maker are basically um, yeah, winning and taking control of the traditional finance at the moment. I mean, not necessarily winning, but how they will basically control the entire market of finance in a medium or long term vision. And I gave presentation of Curve, how Curve is doing on the governance level, all the Curve walls with all the different projects building on top of Curve, trying to take control of the governance, and I matched this vision with the video of Wrecked Opium, Dystopian Dreams, and this video is about like 12 minutes. I'm not sure if you guys seen it before, but if you don't, I really highly recommend to watch it because it's a very high quality video with a lot of different piece of parts inside, and it gives the vision about how DeFi is disrupting the world, but at the same time is we are getting against traditional finance, governance, nation states, stable coins, people that had control of the power before because they were able to print money. Well, now people with the ability to print stable coin, they are trying to take control of that power or that money worldwide, and that's the reason why big institutions, big corporations are fighting back and trying to regulate or trying to censor this technology.
Yeah, that's great. I actually watched it, and I loved how fancy it was done. It was just like, oh my goodness, I almost shed a tear. It was so well produced.
Yeah, the people in the audience, like, they were pretty shocked. I think they were pretty shocked.
Yeah. All right, Joseph. I know you had some crazy announcements with the Sushi Swap V2, I believe, with the whole Trident stuff. Um, and that was pretty nuts. Like all the new innovations you guys are doing. Why don't you provide like a quick overview of what you're doing?
Yeah, sure. So Sushi Trident is our new platform that we built out. It's our new AMM, and it's an AMM that we built on top of our Bento Box platform. Our Bento Box platform is a platform in which tokens come in, and then apps have the ability to access those tokens as a virtual balance, and the underlying balances are actually invested into yield strategies. So, say for instance that you're going to be an LP, right? You would normally deposit like 50-50 of each token, right? Unless there's a swap going on, that those assets are sitting idle, right? And the idea is that not everybody's going to come back at the exact same time with withdraw 100% from the AMM. So those up to 80% of the underlying tokens get taken and exercised in yield strategies. And so you get your swap fees on top, and then you also get your like this the return on strategy from the underlying token. And there's like a whole like slew of stuff that we did around that.
Yeah, that's cool. I think particularly the thing that was most interesting from the announcement for me was the whole routing thing, where you guys were able to you could swap different pairs, and the Sushi would do it automatically for you. For example, I want Axes. I think that was the example stated in there, and I only have USDC. It would automatically swap from USDC to ETH and then ETH to AXS. So I think all that stuff is really cool. I don't think Stani is on right now, so you won't be able to talk about credit delegation. But yeah, what was the cool? I sort of briefly alluded to at the beginning. What's the coolest thing that you've seen at ETHCC today?
I mean, all my friends in a post-COVID world. That's the real thing that I've seen. But really, mostly, I was like preparing for the talk, and so I haven't really like seen anything yet. But I like the talk I'm planning on going to tomorrow is with Certora, Mooley, the CEO of Certora, who's our formal verifier. All of our contracts are formally verified. Um, he's going to give a talk, and I can't wait to hear from what he has to say.
Julian,
Well,
you?
your talk was cool, man. Joseph, really like it. I
Thanks, my
watched the
dude.
replay. Yeah, yeah,
Dude,
I really
can
like
you
it.
believe that? Like, remember, like, just like not even that long ago, like a year ago, we're sitting in at ETH Denver, like, just talking about what we're gonna do, right? We had no
Yeah,
fucking clue what was gonna happen afterwards.
yeah, yeah. I
How
remember that.
crazy this
Up,
world is.
yeah, upstairs. We're like, man, what do we do?
Yeah.
No, yeah, Joseph. Like the. I mean, Sushi is like is nuts right now. You guys are like killing it. I really like it. And yeah, the concept, also the new routing mechanism, like this is all these different things that you guys are building. Potentially, it look like you're also going against a little fight with Curve. I've seen.
Well, I'll tell you what, we really like the design of Curve V2. But the sticky part about Curve V2 is the research that went into it. We can't even copy that, right? Like that research is so good, and you kind of like have to do that to make those pools efficient.
Yeah, yeah, 6 months. Michael did yeah, pretty intense and savage work on that.
And then I guess moving on, what project, what projects, people excite you most in DeFi right now? Maybe things that you've seen at CC.
Yeah, so I think I'll take this one. So I'm really, really impressed with all the people at Starkware. And I'm definitely not biased at all because I'm working on the EVM to Cairo transpiler. But yeah, Starkware seems to be doing something really incredible. And that sort of ties into what Joseph spoke about earlier with, the not great user experience. And layer twos potentially coming to the rescue with respect to, the fee situation, et cetera, et cetera. And yeah, they just have some really, really cool technology. And hopefully we'll be helping bring EVM compatible languages to Starknet soon. Yeah.
Not necessarily at ETHCC, but Element Fi. I really love that project. I mean, obviously it's run by like my like super tight homie Johnny Ray and Will. Will is here, but they're like that project is really cool. The idea of like decoupling yields from the underlying asset into like yield coupons is brilliant. It's a new DeFi primitive, and it's going to be like, and we're going to see it everywhere soon.
Julian, you?
Yeah, I mean, for me, like what I'm very excited about is all the project around options and futures. So any project working around that area, I'm pretty passionate about, and also like some new solution for stable coins. For example, a project called Pengle. It's a new algorithmic stable coin. Hopefully, won't get wrecked. But yeah, I think some new design around stablecoin and using very advanced derivative mechanism to keep the peg. And this for me is pretty interesting because it will lead DeFi. I mean, so stablecoin is already taking control of the entire market cap, but it will even more take more represent like a bigger volume in the future. So everyone building some very advanced stablecoin that are not backed by custodial solution and are completely decentralized. I think it's very interesting.
Yeah, I think that. Sorry, I think that's part of the reason why DeFi is so interesting and why it succeeded so quickly is that you guys are talking about all these interesting new technologies and the new sushi swap, etc., etc. The iteration, like the rate of iteration, is just so fast. It's incredible, and in sort of like traditional financial institutions, that is just completely impossible to do. So yeah, I think that's definitely one of the reasons DeFi is so great.
Yeah, this is a bit of a follow-up, but what projects are like the DeFi space are like, are you sort of jealous, but like not in a bad way, but more of like, dang, I wish that I could do that as well if I had extra time.
I mean, it hasn't been. I mean, it hasn't been built yet, but David White and Sam Bankman-Fried, their write-up about like kind of everlasting options. Man, I wish I had the time to build that thing because it's super badass.
Greg?
Not directly related to DeFi protocols, but very high impact on DeFi. I think Flashbots is super, super cool. I've been to a couple of the brainstorming sessions, and they really have Ethereum's best intentions at heart, and they're solving a really, really difficult problem that people have sort of very heated ideas on. So yeah, Flashbots is pretty cool.
All right, cool. Yeah, I think institutional adoption has been pretty big portion of what DeFi has been about. I think it's kind of interesting for SushiSwap, but has there been any institutional interest in like dexes, or have they all been about? What concerns have they raised, like regarding KYC and et cetera, et cetera?
Like we've had like dexes that are, or I'm sorry, we've had like institutional clients that are interested in or not clients, but institutions that we've talked to that are interested in LPing on dexes. The problem is like KYC AML, and we need to kind of like accommodate that. We are like going to build out something with regard to that after the Trident rollout, but not before, so that we can kind of like allow them to like onboard that liquidity. But the problem is it isn't really like decentralized finance because they kind of like whitelist who can LP and who can swap. It's kind of like we'll have like a preferred, I don't know, arbitrager essentially for their pools.
Mm. Yeah. Are there any concerns about like the bifurcation of? Are you guys going to bifurcate the pools so that there you have like one all KYC and the other like it's just normal DeFi?
Yeah, that's how it would go. That's kind of like the design we've been working on.
Yeah. And I guess the other question I have is, what's one need in DeFi that isn't being served right now? Like, ideas that could be interesting, but you haven't really had time or bandwidth to look in further. I know you hinted at the the whole everlasting options thing. But any other ideas that things that you would do,
No,
Greg?
I think
Oops,
that's
sorry.
it.
Yeah, I do think that the whole options and derivative developments are super, super interesting, and there's a lot of really cool stuff to be done there. So if I had more time, I'd definitely want to be working on that.
All right, you, Joseph.
Oh, I was just gonna say no. That everlasting options is what I would be building if I had the like bandwidth to, but I really don't. So nothing else really like piques my interest right now. Options just overall are like an interesting space, and like it's hard because there's like for the way that like the design of AMMs has worked is like basically made it so that like the platform can't go fractional at any point in time. Um, and like, but options underwriting is like much different, right? We had it like built into Dairy Swap, but like the you know it's not always going to be like perfect, and so the platform could go fractional at some point. You can't predict the future, and so like how do you underwrite options for DeFi? It's a bit difficult.
Hmm. Yeah. Um. So what you're telling me is there any way for options to be done via an AMM? Or
I haven't seen any good examples yet. I know that there are some people like working on it where it's like there's a relatively good guarantee that it won't go fractional, but I haven't seen like kind of like a provably guaranteed way that it won't go insolvent at some point.
okay, that's cool. I think Greg, you had some questions for Joseph in particular as well.
Did I?
Oh. Okay, that's fine. Yeah. What do you? Yeah, I can. Joseph, it's been like a crazy. All right, ignore that kerfuffle. But it's been a crazy 6 months for SushiSwap. Like, what's your what do you think is your biggest achievement from the last year or so, or the last 6 months?
Um, like we launched in the last 6 months. We launched Kashi, Bento Box, Miso. We've updated our UI. We've implemented limit orders, and today we're like announcing Trident, like probably like 30 to 60 days. Like I really like Kashi. I think it's like a unique platform. That would probably be the most like the crowning achievement in my view.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
I actually do have the question. I just thought of one. And Joseph, are you guys planning on doing any other L2 integrations?
What do you mean by that?
like directly building on, like building on an L2.
Oh yeah, totally. We're definitely going to Arbitrum. In fact, our legacy AMM is already deployed there. And as soon as that goes live, we'll be live. We haven't really like thought about Optimism yet. We're still a little annoyed that they wouldn't allow us to launch. And even though we were helping them like debug their platform, they preferred to allow only Uni to go first. So I don't know that we'll go there, but we're definitely going to Arbitrum. And like whatever like ZKL2 comes up first, we're like so down.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I mean, we should definitely get in touch because I'm working on an EVM to Cairo transpiler, which is Cairo is the language that is used on StarkNet, which is Starkware's L2, and it's a ZK rollup. And the reason Cairo is so brilliant is that traditionally when you want to make a smart contract amenable to zero knowledge proof, you would have to first convert it into an algebraic circuit and then convert that into a quadratic arithmetic program, etc., etc. So you get this sequence of really complicated steps. And it's quite daunting if you're not a cryptography ninja. And you write a smart contract, and you need to write a proving system with that too, which uses your QAP. So you end up with like really application specific code. So if let's say you have an AMM running on this fictitious L2, and you want to add like a derivative service, you'd have to write a whole new algebraic circuits, etc., etc., and you proof system another smart contract on layer one, and have that smart contract audited. But with Cairo, there's sort of none of that, and sort of the cleverness behind it means that you can assert the proof assert the validity of a whole bunch of L2 transactions using a single proof, regardless of whether they are NFT trades, token swaps.
You kind of cut out.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, no, you're fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where did I get cut out?
I think you were fine. I could hear you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, same.
Okay. Yeah, so with Cairo in the example I gave before, you don't need to you don't need to do any of that complicated algebraic circuit writing stuff. You just write a new Cairo contract. And so the sort of idea behind it all is that all the Cairo programs have a single algebraic intermediate representation that makes them like sort of all equally amenable to proof. So you'd be able to use the same L1 contract too.
Yeah, I mean, that's the goal. Is like Starks or Snarks circuits for EVM, right? Like while I appreciate Cairo, the problem is that people aren't willing to kind of like rewrite their contracts, and people aren't going to trust like a transpiler. But like this EVM to Cairo is going to be fantastic. I can't wait. It's also going to allow us to like maintain our code bases and like maintain composition with other DeFi dApps. I can't wait.
What do you think of a formally verified transpiler?
I don't know. It doesn't really make any difference for me because we still have to formally verify our code.
Okay, yeah, makes sense. But so you mentioned,
Yeah.
Sorry, I just like to got another follow-up question on that. You mentioned that you would enjoy an EVM to Cairo setup, but that's essentially a transpiler. Can you like go into a bit more detail on that?
I'm sorry, like maybe I misspoke there. I don't want to have to build on Cairo. Like I want to continue to build. Like this is the reason that we're not like on platforms that are good and have lots of liquidity like Solana and other upcoming platforms that like have like different contract formats. The main sticking problem is like we can't interact with them, or we have to rewrite our entire code base. And it's like new language. This EVM to Cairo transpiler is great. Right, we'll be able to use that. And then the other thing is like we're looking at it at some point. This a Cairo implementation. The problem is like it's kind of like as we would build it, it would be a one-off, and like it wouldn't really have necessarily the composability with other like DeFi applications. But like if we're doing like EVM transpiling, yeah, that's great, right? If we can use our same code base, and we can deploy that, and we'll have composition with the other apps who are like EVM compatible as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, our work was just open source recently. It's on GitHub at the Nethermind GitHub. It's called Warp, the transpiler. And we should be releasing a demo of transpiling an ERC20 Solidity contract and deploying it to Starknet within the next week or two. So yeah, look out for that.
Yeah. All right. And this is also another question, sort of following up. I mean, not really following up, but why was the decision to make it to the Trident to GPL? I know SushiSwap has their code under a more restrictive license. Why open it up?
So we don't have our code under a restrictive license. There are platforms that we built, we co-developed that we don't own, right? Bento and Kashi, we don't own the license. We were granted an unlimited license from Boring Crypto as we co-developed it. It was part of the payment. This goes into a whole other conversation that I have about like the way how shitty incentives are in DAOs, and like how it's like hard to structure a DAO in such a way that you can allow people to act as founders, like we had to have with Kashi and Bento Box. Everything else has been GPL3, and Trident will be GPL3, and we really believe in this.
Okay, then how would you prevent someone from, I mean, not prevent, but I mean, what would stop someone from just doing another vampire attack? Just working your stuff again.
I don't lack confidence in our community and our team. We're better engineers, and we have a better community. So try and fork us out. I actually challenge you to try and fork Sushi, and have a better community, and a better engineering team.
All right, I think I'll I'll book a time tomorrow, and then I'll take a stab. But yeah, you make a good point. I think the Sushi community is super duper strong, and maybe we won't be able to see the same kind of vampire attack. And I think one of the other questions is, what are the benefits of MEV that are introduced to SushiSwap?
I mean, like we can't really do anything about MEV, other than kind of like minor mitigations. MEV really comes down to this idea of of like of like transaction. Okay, so if we introduce asynchrony into a transaction, essentially all MEV can be mitigated. If we insert changes into the protocol of Ethereum that allow like a different way to do like block ordering, then we can mitigate MEV. But there really is no way to mitigate MEV without introducing asynchrony, which like breaks Ethereum's composition.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's sort of virtually completely unavoidable. So like, any attempt to ignore it or try to stave it off without doing the things that Joseph mentions probably just results in it happening behind closed doors instead of in the open, like it happens now with Flashbox.
I think Flashbox is the best near-term solution, but long-term, that's a terrible solution in my view.
Yeah, I think they might agree with that. I think, well, Flashbox in its current form, obviously the organization is going to evolve, and they're pretty dedicated to doing everything they can to solve the MEV problem.
Yeah. And jumping off of Sushi, I mean, what do you think it'll take for DeFi to go mainstream?
Yeah, we got to fix this whole UX problem. UX is so bad. We just can't we can't keep continuing on like ignoring the problems with gas and that are necessary with like gas abstraction, and the speed of the network is like really slow. Like having people install wallets, like in my opinion, the network that has this solved the most is Flow, and they have kind of like really nice integrated wallets with like nice fiat on ramps. They can kind of like go custodial or non-custodial, but like still like we need to solve some of those like UX issues, and then everybody can use it.
Yeah, and Greg, what you thinking about that?
Yeah, I think pretty much agree with every single thing Joseph just said. And I think in the short term, like the L2s are a huge solution to some. Like I think I don't know if I'm thinking about why my friends don't use DeFi or Ethereum. The majority of them don't use it either because they think it's too complicated, which ties into the UX experience, or that the fees are just way too high. Which sort of ties into what we're doing, building the EVM to Cairo transpiler. So yeah, definitely the fees and the user experience for sure.
Okay. All right. Also, audience, if you have any questions, feel free to DM us, and we'll try to answer them right now. Yeah. All right. But so we're gonna play a game that FT, Financial Times, that they do at the end of their interview. Another thing that us DeFiers are stealing from TradFi. And it's basically called long short. Are you long, or do you like the idea, or are you short an idea? And it'll be sort of like a lightning round. And audience, if you have any ideas for things that you want to hear, you want to hear us long short about, ideas that you want us to you want to take on, just feel free to DM that to us as well. But yeah, so we'll sort of do it like a lightning round. I'll spam them to you, and then you can say whether you're long, short, or in the middle about it. And if you want to explain why you take that particular position, so. All right, are you guys ready?
Ready.
All right, ETH killers.
Short.
Okay, USD as a stable. The US dollar as like the stable coin of choice.
Short.
All right, algorithmic stable coins.
Short.
Short.
Well, under collateralized algorithmic stablecoin short. Long over collateralized.
Yeah.
Okay. Institution only DeFi markets.
Indifferent. I don't know. What's the middle one?
Yeah, I guess indifferent. Indifferent is fine.
Yeah, I think it's hard to see how that plays out. So I might just say short though.
Okay. More spectacular rug pulls and bigger wrecks. More people getting wrecked.
So long.
Yeah, that'll give Julian lots more content.
All right, we're all going to make it.
Long as can be.
All right, that's true. And this might be a little bit of a deal breaker. We might have to end it early depending on response. Pineapple on pizza.
The work of Satan.
You know what isn't that bad? I'll go long.
All right.
Oh, no.
My man. Greg, unfollow me on Twitter. Joseph is my new best friend. Yeah. All right. I think because of Greg's unsatisfactory answer, we'll have to end it early. Just a last minute thing. Any cool stories from today's event? How was Paris after the first time after COVID?
It was great, man. It was really great seeing everybody. I'm really grateful to EthCC to have us and kind of help us out. This is one of the premier events for Ethereum, and I'm just happy to be back in Paris again.
Oh, any good restaurant recommendations around the area?
I don't know. That's not my. I don't know. I'm more of a Google kind of person.
Okay. All right. That's fair enough.
I would also like our audience to request to open the mic and maybe ask a little questions that they have.
If you have any last minute questions you want, you feel free to request, or you can DM us.
Yeah, we would love to. We would love to hear that.
All right. Okay, we have one request. All right. Let's hear it. Okay. All right. Okay. Looks like it might have been a bust. Oh, okay, it could be a Twitter error as well.
Okay, actually I have one more question to Greg. How does rap fit into everything?
Yeah, so I think the main thing we're trying to do with Warp ties into what Joseph was talking about. where you have an L2 protocol, sorry, an L1 protocol, and they want to build on an L2, but they really don't want to have to rewrite everything in a new language. But part of the reason that StarkNet or Starkware StarkNet is so brilliant is because of Cairo, because of the fact that you don't have to write a whole new quadratic arithmetic program, etc., for each different program to construct a proof for. And that really makes it unique among the ZK rollups. And like ZK rollups have a really nice property that optimistic rollups can't. That is that you don't have that withdrawal delay, which is like also ties into what Joseph was talking about with respect to the not great user experience. And it's really not great if you want to withdraw your money to L1 and transfer it to another L2 or something, and you have to wait a week for that transfer to go through. So yeah, I think what we're trying to do is basically just make it a lot easier for developers to be able to just write Solidity or Viper, etc., and not have to worry about anything relating to Cairo, so they can keep the composability, etc.
All right. Ball is live. You want to pop in a question?
Yeah, thank you for bringing me up. It's for Joseph. I was just curious. Recently there's like it's pretty big governance news for sushi with like the recent raise and at the price that a lot of the VCs got the raise. I was just curious because it seems like, or from what I saw on Twitter, and I don't know, like it seems like it was something like you kind of found out about after the fact. I'm just curious as to like your take on it, and like and I'm just playing like the devil's advocate, and the like people are obviously very critical because it doesn't seem fair or decentralized or I don't know, like I'm just curious as like how you think the incentives will play out. Like there's been like people tracking wallets that have dumped tokens relating to those VCs, or those VCs have dumped sushi tokens recently. So I'm just curious as to your perspective.
Sure. So there's a bit to dissect there. First thing, there's been no sale. There's been a proposal. There's been a forum post written up as a proposal, and there's been like debate about it. The way that the proposal is framed in the forum, I hate it. I think our community hates it too, and they've done a really good job of being like the white blood cells of that. There is no proposed sale that is going through. And also, when I said on Twitter, like, just got back something about like I heard that we sold out to VCs. That was tongue in cheek. I had been following it all along, but I've been like focused on the Trident like build up. That I wanted to stay off Twitter because like I think I'm famous for being like the biggest shit poster on Twitter ever. And so I wanted to like kind of like take my time and stay off of Twitter so I could focus on Trident. And then it's like this VC thing came up. The deal is getting refined every day. In fact, they're doing 3-hour sushi community forums every day this week to discuss a new deal. And I don't even think the original deal is even close to what's happening. For me, I think like the maximum that we should sell is like 20 million, like max. And I think like the community is pushing more towards like a no discount with a lockup, which is like I don't know how they pulled off that 4D chess, but it seems to be working. So that's like good for them. But I'm also like not super close to it. Everything will be like continued to be discussed until there's like a rough consensus. Nothing would be like put up as a proposal to be voted on without their like feeling that there's like a rough consensus from the community.
Cool. Thank you for that.
Yeah, actually, I would like to ask you guys about MEV. So firstly, maybe to Joseph, very overall question of what do you think the benefits would be for SushiSwap with MEV introduced?
I mean, MEV is already happening, right? Like, if we like, I mean, it would be very great if we could have like basically zero MEV. Because why am I paying a miner a transaction fee for them to include me in the block? And then they can kind of like this is all around protocol design. MEV is like the block producer has the sole right to do block ordering, and a malicious block order. In my view, the block ordering should be like natural on the basis of like your your gas payment, but there's no provable way to do that inside of a consensus mechanism. So block orders can do whatever they want, and if block orders can do whatever they want, they can do MEV. Until we come up with a solution around like block ordering, we're going to have MEV, and I think it sucks. It sucks for the users, and it's great for like block producers. By that I mean miners right now, and in the future, ETH2 block producers.
Okay,
Yeah, I
perfect.
think I agree with the theme there. Because it's sort of inevitable with the current base layer of Ethereum design. What you really don't want is you don't want like MEV happening completely in private, where no one knows who's doing what, and people are making deals behind closed doors, etc., etc. So I think for the moment that's something that really Flashbots has done a great job to mitigate and allow sort of anyone who knows Solidity and some JavaScript or Go maybe to try extract some MEV themselves and not necessarily let the miners get everything or just do all the MEV. But yeah, it does kind of suck. But it's sort of here to stay.
Is there a blockchain that's been structured that better tackles this? Or like, can you think of one that's like biggish now?
There are
In regard to block
solutions.
ordering?
There are solutions, but they introduce asynchrony. The best one that exists, I think, is like made by Algorand. They have this like their VRF, right? Like they have like this whole strategy for like revealing as a group. It is a really great platform. It works, but it fails for liveness. So if not enough people are online or a bunch of the users like fall offline, you like the reveal won't happen. And so like the introduction of like asynchrony into like, and also like do you want natural block ordering? Do I want to order the block on the basis of payment, or do I want to order the block on the basis of like the natural order that's like the order of arrival? Why should somebody get in a block in a specific space? Like I'm happy with the system now, like kind of like, well, let's say pre-MEV, where it's like block ordering is on a basis of like what kind of like gas payment you make, right? But like, why should they order the block any specific way, right? There are ways that you can kind of you can order a block that allow the trades to happen in a more like intelligent way as well. But like, I don't know where I was going with that. Anyway, like MEV is just like kind of like an outcome of the block order.
On that last point you made about there are ways to order transactions that could be more optimal for users, I think incorporating the inevitability of the MEV on Ethereum could help you come up with some interesting designs. Like, for example, let's say you want to implement some sort of limit order system on your DEX, and a way to incentivize or a way to create more liquidity at certain price levels is that you could have bots who hold a token that someone would like to buy, and the price that they want to buy it is currently much lower than the price that is available for the token. You could have some sort of setup where the bot who owns a lot of that token, he could sell a bit of it and then allow the other guy to buy, and then he could buy a bit of it and then allow the other guy to go and sort of like back run him. So the human non-bot gets the lower price he wants, and the bot gets a better price afterwards for his tokens that he holds.
Sure, but like any solution right now, if we don't solve it at the like, if we want a perfect solution, that like is like basically eliminates MEV. If we
Oh
want to
yeah,
do
that
that,
doesn't exist. Yeah.
it starts to introduce asynchrony, right? If we have
Yeah.
these beautiful composable synchronous transactions right now in Ethereum, and I like to keep that as long as we can. I don't know if we can keep it forever, but like if we introduce like some sort of like new thing like for HouseSwap, for instance, right? It's like an asynchronous platform, right? It like essentially eliminates like MEV in most senses. But like we have to introduce asynchrony, or we have to fix it at the protocol level.
Well, wouldn't introducing asynchrony require changes at the protocol level?
No, I mean like for the instance of CalSwap, it's like they kind of like put up these transactions and
Okay.
then they
Yeah.
have a solver submit, right? It's like right now I can swap, add liquidity, remove, take a flash loan, swap, remove liquidity. I can do all of that in a single synchronous transaction, right? Like, but if I'm to do this in an asynchronous way, then I'm kind of like waiting for everything to be batched together and I can't do simultaneous actions unless we create like some sort of system for those to like hook in.
Okay. Interesting.
And I don't know. I don't think all MEV is bad. I think it's only sandwich attacks that are like the worst. But otherwise, MEV shouldn't be something that we should completely eliminate. As something.
Yeah, I mean, in the proof of stake world, it could might help make Ethereum more secure by attracting more stakers. Because the prospects of getting a higher yield on your staked Ethereum if you're able to partake in MEV, etc., etc. So it's definitely not all bad. Another example where it might be good is liquidations MEV in the sense through flashbots where you aren't having these crazy bidding wars in the mempool causing gas prices to go to like 1,000 GUA like they did a couple months ago. So you have it sending through Coinbase.
I'm going to
Is it
take the
also
opposite
not?
stance. I'm going to take the opposite stance. All MEV is bad, right? The only reason that it exists is because we can't prevent it. But like the whole goal of MEV is would it, instead of me robbing you, wouldn't it be good if I extorted you more regularly, right? Like that's the whole design of anti MEV platforms.
Yeah, I agree with that. But I was sort of like talking from this perspective of it's inevitable and it's like it's there, and it sort of can't be mitigated currently on Ethereum with this current protocol. So from
Right,
that
and
point
with
of view,
I was just
and
gonna
right with
say,
protocols, we're only guaranteed what the protocol guarantees. They can do it and be assholes, right? But but they can do it. They're allowed to do it, right?
yeah,
I was gonna say it also sucks when like mining becomes more concentrated, and I don't know if that will like, kind of go over when staking occurs with like big staking pools having a lot of power as well. And I was just curious, Joseph, like, have you considered uh, like implementing a system like CowSwap that uses like asynchronous uh, like verification for transactions in order to mitigate MEV?
No, but we look at all of them. We kind of like have a really good team to give an analysis on these different protocols. But for the most part, no, we haven't really like talked about doing an implementation of a cow swap on our end.
yeah. I also think there's like a big difference between being like provably MEV free in like the mathematical sense and like probably MEV free. Because probably MEV free is probably worse than just not claiming to be MEV free, because a lot of people might think that it's impossible to do, and you might end up with a situation where like groups of highly motivated slash well funded slash highly intelligent people figure it out, and so MEV sort of becomes on that platform like this thing that only very few people can partake in. Where currently, now if you work hard enough and a bit of solidity, etc., you can partake. You can be a searcher and capture some MEV.
Hiya, guys. Quick question for someone who might not be following everything you're saying, but in terms of you mentioned that there's no way to mitigate MEV without an asynchrony. Could you just run me through the basics and what is this asynchrony that you're mentioning, and why is this like the reason why you can't mitigate MEV? That makes sense.
Sure. Yeah. So right now you can do a bunch of simultaneous actions in a single transaction. So like in that transaction, I can do stuff like I can trade on sushi and I can stake in Aave. But if I were to create a platform that kind of like well, if I were to create something that solved MEV, right, there would be like most of them involve a commit reveal scheme. And a commit reveal scheme is a scheme where I kind of like commit to something with a hash of what I'm going to provide later, or a signed message of what I'm going to commit later. And then there's a reveal period where I am then revealing that. And this kind of like falls in the opposite direction in that like the user can go, oh, the transaction that I'm about to reveal is not advantageous, right? So I'm not going to reveal. But that still like kind of like introduces this like asynchronous nature in that like I can only do a single action in particular. So MEV really is like focused on swaps, right? Like, and the problem is that like when I send my transaction to swap, I don't know how much the pool will have shifted, and so I kind of like set some tolerance. It says like I don't know 1 to 3%, something like that, right? Like I'm hoping that by the time I'll accept like this price like within 1 to 3%. Um, and so like MEV is like they have this way of, because the block producer isn't paying for gas in the block, they can kind of like surround that transaction and they can swap in the direction to push you up to your 3%. And then after they execute your transaction, then they can swap back in the other direction. And so we have to have like some system where the ordering of those transactions is fair, right? And right now the block producer can order them in whatever way that they want. Does that make more sense? I don't know. I think I probably like went crazy again.
No, well, I mean, it's so hard to there's so many bits to kind of unravel, of course, but I feel like you've really described like the problem, but I still don't quite know how one would go about mitigating and finding that fair way of ordering the transactions. But that might be for a different kind of talk.
Sure, no. We'll put them in, like, this is the idea, okay? We put them in a digital hat, right? And we have somebody like reach in to the digital hat and pull one out, right? But that whole system creates a system that's not synchronous, because like we have to have like kind of like a point in which they reach into the hat and pull out the piece of paper.
All right. Yeah, that makes sense.
Hey guys. Don't want to take over discussion, but I was wondering if I could ask Joseph a question real quick.
Yeah, shoot, man.
So, hearing about or seeing your presentation with SushiSwap today, I'm a big sushi supporter, and I'm also a token developer. My main issue with V3 was with Uniswap V3 was how
No one's stopping you.
how they where was I? How they kind of killed the composability with their platform, with how they did non-fungible positions. I was curious with the different pools that you guys have. Are you going to with the capital efficient one going to be able to do fungible LP positions, or will it also be NFTs?
For our concentrated liquidity positions, which is the most similar, we're not going to have ERC 721s. We're going to have ERC 1155s, which are like tranched multiples of non-fungible positions. The problem is the design of concentrated liquidity positions mandates it. It's like there are only so many ways that you can build certain things under the sun, and this one in particular has design constraints that require you to have non-fungible positions. But that being said, we're going to have lots of ancillary contracts that are going to make those like simple and composable. We don't plan on breaking like yield farming or anything in the near future. We'll like bring some designs to make those like very simple processes.
That's awesome. Thank you, Joseph. Oh, one more, if I may. How are you guys going to route your yield farming on LP or on Liquidity? Is it going to continue to be like first party through Bento Box, or are you guys going to go for like a more of like a routing aggregator type deal?
So like if you're already staked in the MasterChef V2, like you're staked on SushiSwap, like that's going to get automatically migrated to Trident. You won't have to do anything. It'll just get moved for you. Those positions now that you have that are like farming for sushi will now, the underlying tokens will also get utilized in strategies as well. So it's like you're going to get a lot more yield out of this.
Yeah, definitely. How are you guys like organizing the strategies, or like picking highest yield, or will it just be like, okay, this one's going to Compound, this one's going to Aave, and that kind of stuff?
We have to do low, no risk strategies. And we're still working out some of it. We really only have one strategy written like Compound, and so I welcome like anybody who wants to help us make new strategies. We're going to have like kind of $2 billion to work with here, so I think it's like worth someone's while to become a strategist for that. But in the near term, we just kind of like have like Compound wrapping for just tokens in general.
Awesome. Thank you, Joseph. I appreciate it.
Okay, so last year was DeFi summer. This year is L2 summer. So what's on the horizon for next summer? What do you guys think?
Ooh, yeah, I don't know.
Normie summer.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. Yeah, DeFi becoming the normies welcoming in DeFi.
Yeah, that
All right, I think that's
sounds pretty good. Okay, so thanks everyone
right.
for joining. Thanks for listening. Huge thanks to all of the speakers. It was great to have you here. And see you guys next time. That means tomorrow, the same time, 6-7 p.m. CST.
Cool. Thanks, guys. Thanks, Joseph.
Yeah, guys, thanks for having me. It was awesome.
Anytime, see that channel.
Yeah, thank you guys very much.